Hello and welcome to this Heroes of Blackreach tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be looking at action cards. In the game of Heroes of Blackreach, each faction has a deck of cards and they can use those cards to influence the game at different points. The two factions in the game are the Orcs and the Ultramarines. So before the game starts, remember to take all the cards for your chosen faction. Each scenario tells you how many action cards you're able to draw at the start of the scenario and how many action cards you can have in your hand. For most scenarios, and for the free battle mode, you'll typically have a hand limit of 4 action cards. So here we have 4 action cards that make up our hand, and I'll use these action cards through the tutorial as we go through different examples. The first thing to look at then is what the different parts of the card mean. So each card has a name, and every card has a condition. If the condition is fulfilled, then when the action card is revealed, you'll be able to perform the battle event. Alternatively, if you can't meet the condition on the action card, or if you don't want to play the battle event, then you can use the card for its alternate bonus. So what this means is that cards have 2 ways they can be played. They can be played either for their battle event or for their alternate bonus. If both players want to play action cards at the same time, then the player who has the initiative gets to use their action card first. Let's look at each way of playing an action card, starting with the battle events. So let's imagine that these are the 4 cards that we've drawn, and these 4 cards will make up our hand for this turn. Each battle event on an action card gives you a special action or ability. For example, this card lets you re-roll 1 or more dice that you've just thrown. Or, alternatively, you can force your opponent to re-roll the dice that they just got. So to use the card, you need to check the condition on the card and see if it's currently fulfilled. If it is, then you reveal the action card and play out the battle event. Once you've used a card, you have to discard it. You can use multiple cards in a single action for their battle events. So for example, if you had a second copy of this card, then if you didn't like yours or your opponent's next die roll, then you could play this card and force another reroll. Then you discard the card. Sometimes battle events may allow you to do something that violates a rule of the game. If it does, then the action card always takes priority. The only rule you can't break is that no firing or assault can happen during the supply phase. Action cards also have the alternate bonus, so let's see how that works. Each card has one of 5 different alternate bonuses. So before we look at how to use the bonus, let's first look at what each one means. So the first provides a bonus to your movement, the second a bonus to your firing, the third a bonus to your assault, and the fourth a bonus to any die roll. Obviously, you can only use the alternate bonus when you're doing that activity. So for example, you must be doing a movement action in order to use the movement alternate bonus. Each of these alternate bonuses always provide a +1 to the ability or to the die roll. So the 5th and final alternate bonus allows you to perform an armor save, and I'll go into that a little bit later. So here we have our hand of cards again. If you want to use the card for its alternate bonus, then you must reveal the card, declare you're using it for the bonus, and then apply the bonus. It's very important to remember to reveal the card before you perform the action or roll the dice. You can only use one alternate bonus in an action, so you can't combine multiple alternate bonuses in the way that you can when you use cards for their battle event. So let's have a quick look at how to use this card for its movement bonus. So here we have a tactical squad, and they would really like to reach this cover 4 squares away, but they only have a movement value of 3. In this case, if the player had an action card with a movement bonus, they could reveal the card before their movement action and increase their movement from 3 to 4. That would enable them to reach the rocks. And remember to discard the card after it has been used. The 5th type of alternate bonus allows a player to perform an armor saving throw. This alternate bonus has a yellow background. In the game, some units have extra tough armor or force fields to protect them from hits. For these units, there's a chance that despite getting hit, their armor or force field will be able to deflect the damage from the hit. If a combat squad has the saving throw special ability, then it will be indicated on their recruitment tile. All units in the squad associated with this recruitment tile have the special ability. So that's both tactical units, the plasma gun, and Sergeant Vorolanus. Armour Saves special abilities come in two different types, either yellow or green. Yellow Armour Saves need to be combined with a card, as we'll see in a moment, whereas green Armour Saves can be used without needing a card, so they are more powerful. So let's see an example of how to use the armor saving throw. Here we have a tactical unit from Sergeant Vorolanus' combat squad, and it's under fire from this unit of orcs. The orcs fire and manage to roll well and score a hit on the tactical unit. At this point, the Ultramarine player plays their action card, which allows them to attempt a yellow armor save. Looking at the recruitment tile, we can see that the armor save requires a die roll of 5 or 6 to succeed. So the Ultramarine player rolls a die and gets a 5, which means the hit is deflected and the armor of the tactical squad saves the unit from being flipped over. And remember to discard the action card. A yellow armor save can only be attempted when you have the corresponding armor save alternate bonus card. If you don't have one or you don't want to reveal it, then the unit will just take the hit as normal. You can only use an armor save when you're being fired on or when you're being assaulted. It will not protect a unit from a forced move. At the end of your turn, you get the chance to discard any action cards you've not used and don't want to keep. Then you draw up to the number of action cards you're allowed for the scenario, and you're ready to start the next turn. Heroes of Blackreach comes with 50 cards for each faction, but you only need to bring 40 cards into a scenario or the free battle mode. So that gives you some scope to prune your deck a little bit and tune it to be exactly how you want it to be. Now you have to select which action cards you want to have in your deck before you start the game. But if you know the scenario or mission in advance, it might be good to leave out certain cards that are perhaps not very useful for that scenario. By doing that, you're more likely to draw the cards that will be useful to you when you're playing the game. And in a moment I'll show you one card that you almost certainly want to leave out of your action deck when you're playing through the scenarios. So to finish off, I'm going to have a look at a few of the cards that I found confusing when I was first learning the game. So let's start with this card. This card is called Surprise. This battle event though talks about leaving and entering buildings by windows. But there aren't any buildings with windows in the base game of Heroes of Blackreach, or even in the two main expansions. There are some buildings with windows coming in the very latest expansions that haven't yet been released, but for now I'd recommend leaving this out of your deck if you're playing with the core box or with the two reinforcement expansions. Both the Orcs and the Ultramarines have 2 copies of this card. The next card is Return to Sender. So this card allows you to throw back a grenade that your opponent has thrown towards you. And due to the name of this card, Return to Sender, I was slightly confused by where you can send the grenade. So you don't just have to send it back in the direction it came, you can send it in any direction up to a maximum range of 3 interspaces. The next card is Opportunistic Fire, and this allows one of your units to use the Overwatch special ability during the activation of an enemy unit. So this card confused me a little bit because it just says one of your units, it doesn't define whether it has to have been activated or not. However, the Overwatch special ability, if you go and look at that in detail, shows you that you have to have a unit that has not yet been activated. So it can only be applied to non-activated units. So the next card I'm going to look at is called Ready. Now Ready allows you to remove an activated marker or an order token from one of your units, and then it's able to act again. So there are 3 ways then stated on the card that it can act again, either with the aid of a card, a special ability, or during the supply phase. So I'm just going to give an example of how you can use the card with each one of those different situations. So I'll start at the bottom during the supply phase because I think that's the easiest one to understand. So when you've taken the activated marker or order token from one of your units, at that point it basically becomes an unactivated unit, just like any other unit that you would be able to move in the supply phase. An example of the special ability would be Overwatch. So for example, if you've already activated a unit, you can then remove its activation marker, and if it has the Overwatch special ability, it's ready then to fire when an enemy unit moves in range. Finally, an example of the card would be something like the Opportunistic Fire card that we've just looked at, and so that gives you the Overwatch ability even if the unit doesn't naturally have that ability. Another card that you could combine the Ready card with is this card, Always Ready. So this card allows you to move an order token from one of your units, even if it's just been eliminated, to another unit without an order token. So if you play the Ready card first, remove an order token or activated marker, then you can play this card, Always Ready, which allows you to move an order token back onto the unit so it can activate again. So if you've got a particularly powerful unit, then being able to use this card combination to activate it twice in one turn is really powerful. The next card is Bogged Down, and this card allows you to stop the movement of an enemy vehicle as if it had got stuck in the mud. And the card talks about stopping the unit at any point in its movement action, and that does include before the unit has actually moved. Okay, so we've reached the end of this tutorial about action cards. Now there are lots of action cards in the game and I've not been able to go through every one of them. So if you've been playing the game and finding any of the cards unclear, then feel free to ask questions in the comments and I'll do my best to help you with any confusion you may have. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, then do check out the other tutorials that I've done for Heroes of Black Reach, and do subscribe to get notifications about the next tutorial. And thank you very much for watching.